The indifference of women towards other women. This is a hard conversation, and it's not one that many of us will have, really. Here goes. This is my experience in the last year, really. Thinking about community and women, and wanting to form connections and figuring out my own thing, and then understanding, in a way, my piece of what's going on with the collective when it comes to feminine women. I don't even like the word feminine. Females, women, girls, girl energy. The indifference of us, towards one another. And this is a hard conversation because we pretend like we are a sisterhood and that we have one another's back. And to an extent, that's true if we, are able to serve one another, and serving others' purposes. I do think that a big part of it, is the conflict, or our biology, right? I want to understand why the world is the way it is. I wanted to understand that since I was a little girl. And women don't seem to have any feelings towards each other, really. We're indifferent for the most part. There's not that passion, desire, emotional energy, sisterhood, bond. And there really can't be when we have this obsession with what isn't there and wanting it to be there so bad. And I struggle with this too. Males are fun, right? And less mental going on there, really. It's just ironic because I think women hinder their mental capability because of that. They let men just want women for the basics, right? Yeah, our basics is the entire world, though. Look, we create it. And that labor isn't monetarily compensated for. So the whole entire system is whack. And it is a slave system. And it doesn't have to be, because ultimately what we want to create, we do anyway, right? So that's why we have a system based on the unmet needs. So then we can't create what we're going to create, because that would just create a world that's not about taking, and that mindset is literally the GOP. It's war. Taking, raping, war, horrible things. Horrible. Yeah, women are very good at forgiving males. I'm in the woods right now and no one's around, but I just don't know. It's just weird to talk about these things. I'm having a hard time, because I know I have to say this for me, really, because while women have helped me out a lot, men have too, and I have this, I did a video last year about feminine rage and war and all that, and spoke in there about how we have these, just men just a lot of things going on with like the male nature, but like female nature, it seems like we just ignore a lot of what men are like just in how they are. And we want them to be like women. And I know saying that just makes me think of this other YouTube personality that speaks about that. And it's just funny though, because this is just like romance, the intimacy on like a higher level. How can you really do that with someone that is so easily distracted by his physical needs? And not to say that women aren't that way too. I honestly think that's a big part of what's going on as well. Like, women want to tame the ego of males when that's entirely their business. And maybe it's something that unfortunately we are here to help them with, but it's not something that we can do unless they desire that and recognize the authority that women have in being able to help with that situation. But ultimately, that's a male thing, and I just want females to be able to acknowledge that ultimately we can't expect. I gave an analogy to my one friend, because she was upset with her male for letting a situation get too far gone with their vehicle. So now they have one vehicle, and she's like, I can't believe you let this happen. I told him many times. And I'm like, this is just common situations that women have with males. And it's like, if we got 16 gigabytes, and that's our processing power, that's as much as we got, how can we get mad? You got 2 terabytes. It's just, you're gonna get frustrated. They don't have the same processing power like that. And then a lot of women don't want to even go there. That conversation can't even be had. But you want to know why all the systems don't work and are whack. So women's indifference towards other women. I had a situation a year ago where it was like this weird 3-way conversation, and I have no guile, and I don't know what I'm allowed to not say. And some women are very oh, you can't say that, they'll think this. I can't do that. If I think something or something, I'll just bring it up, and then I'll be like, oh wait, actually. So who knows, maybe that's what happened. But I got off the 3-way call with this one girl, and I texted her and made sure we were good, or called her back, and then she just mumbled at me. And then the next, we talked all the time. We were it was weird. It's when you click with girls, sometimes they just will talk, you'll just talk, call each other, and we were doing that. But then I reached out and I didn't hear from her, and remembered some things that she'd said prior, how if I want to, people don't ignore you, they do it on purpose. We always have our phone. So that relationship ended very because it just seems like women aren't able to give grace to other women, and that's okay. And then there's just so many situations where I've had women who they're married, they're a client or whatever, and then they'll never have their husband really text me, but then to let me go or be like, oh, we don't, it's just a business thing, have their husband text me. That was wild. And this happened very near each other in timeline last year. And then just hanging out with a younger girl, Gen Z girl, very young. She's 19 now. And just experiencing, how they are in their relations with one another, and it's just a lot of very petty shit, a lot of social media, and I think most of it really is like, the attention of males is more valuable to women, to females, than female attention. So valuable that, if a good friend of yours doesn't approve of the man that you're with or sleeping with, you'll throw him under the bus. Any advice that women give towards other women has to be like very subtle, can't be too abrasive, I guess. So, holy goodness, right? But that's why like males laugh at women saying they'll get together and be in community, because they know that's not something women like. We do not get along. And I think it is mostly because of the programming to be with a man is like the highest thing, and then what we do as women creating life isn't valued here, and everything's money. And like, I've tried to be out of that game for a while, but I've been, still in it a little, and now I'm like, ugh, I struggle with it, because it's like, the very creation of life doesn't get paid for, like, we have to pay to be in a hospital, or just everything in life is dumb. Relationships are pretty crazy, and women at the village that they talk about I saw a comment, the village that you talk about that doesn't exist anymore is just the free labor of relatives or neighbors, and that doesn't exist anymore because everything costs money. I work as like a nanny, caregiver. I love animals. I really want to grow cannabis. So that's the goal this year. Just be a recluse somewhere and grow cannabis and flowers. I'd like to be able to learn how to have community with women, but it is honestly sometimes easier to hang out with men, because men do understand the nature of women a little bit more than women do, because women seem to want to just ignore the obvious about each other and the men in our lives, the males in our lives. Anyway, I think that's enough for now. You can tell me your opinions. I'd love to hear them. Tell me, your how you have felt indifferent toward women, because I know I have, for the longest time, tried my best. But there is this, underlining, thing with, the energy, and it's like, if, the most important thing is romance and sexual energy, it's a little hard for women when that's definitely not been allowed, right? So, and then women just, if they are into men, that's just their finality in this world, which, I understand. I'm attracted to them physically too, but I'm also no longer attracted to them physically because of their minds. So I do struggle with, that reality still, because it seems unfair to just do that to all of them. I know it's just how they are, so it's not like a, I'm going at this anyway. We all have great differences, and that's cool, but I think me just trying to figure out this relationship thing with women, I think it comes from just, even as babies, I think girls are expected more, maybe not expected more, just are more, we can do more, so it just happens naturally. But there's a lot of telepathic communication that goes on with females, women, girls. And I call it girls, it's just funny, because it's you can be 50 years old, but it's still so important that you have girl energy. And I think that that's just being naive to the way males are. I think that's girl energy. And I think that ends around 25, because by then you've had a few patterns come into fruition in your mind a bit. I mean, if you've been dealing with them, I didn't really even start dealing with them until I was around that age, 24, I don't know. I don't want to do that anymore, so I haven't for a long time, but I'm like, it's not easy to have relationships with women either, because usually relationships with women revolve around the males in their lives, and how much work it is to keep that mirage going. I did say it like that for a reason, because I mean, I guess I can say that some marriages do seem like they're okay and all that, but I don't know. Anyway, I think that the sexual conflict in the world of whatever wouldn't be such a big deal if women could have connection and communicate, but what do I know? It's just a theory. I do think that if women could get along, we'd share our resources a little bit better. But I don't know, that's maybe not true too. Because it's like, I think women have used men against each other for a long time, and that's a conversation we need to have too. And I wish to talk about hard conversations with you all. So hope you're all doing well. The indifference of women towards women.